Thank you so much, Shirley, for talking with me today and for taking the time to tell me a little bit about yourself. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of your interview series.
Of course, thank you. Well, let's begin with something that is pretty much present in our world and we have been living with the past like year and a half, I believe. Um, how have you dealt with the coronavirus pandemic in your professional and personal life?
Oh, this has been, as it has been for everyone, quite a challenging and transformative period for all of us and for our organization and for myself personally. Um, the pandemic, as we know, truly affected Black and Brown students in unequal ways and has become a very challenging time, both academically and personally, for youth to continue with their higher education goals. And this impact really has shown itself in the numbers and in the way that college enrollment and post-secondary enrollment has been reduced significantly because of the pandemic, particularly amongst Black and Latino youth. And as an organization whose mission is to support first-gen Latino students on their pathways to and through college, we wanted to be sure that the scholars in our program had the supports that they needed to make sure that they continued with their pathways. And so as an organization, it has required our team to truly become much more hands-on and to provide support services in areas that we had not been involved in prior, and to create virtual programming so that we can continue to assist our students virtually, and to pivot significantly from the delivery of services. And I'm proud to say that the organization has just thrived and come through the pandemic strong and more creative than ever, and that our scholars have not missed a beat, and that all of our cohorts who were both enrolled in college as well as those high school seniors have continued with their plans and are moving on to their first year of college or their continuation in college.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's been an incredible period of transition and transformation for us.
And what about you personally?
For me personally, it's been an opportunity to be at home more with family. And my two adult daughters came home and they worked from home, and my husband. So the four of us were here in our home working remotely. Gave me an opportunity to reconnect with my children and my daughters at a new stage in their lives as adults. It also was a time for me to begin succession planning for the organization, and to welcome a new executive director to LUCA and redefine my role as founder, and to continue to support LUCA as strategic growth officer. So there's been a shift in leadership within LUCA, and that's been personal because I started LUCA 12 years ago. And so bringing in an executive director to lead the organization into this next stage and into the future has been something that we worked on throughout succession planning while the pandemic was going on.
Yeah, and the pandemic really forced us to rethink a lot about our lives and what we do on a day-to-day basis. But what is one thing you have taken away from the whole pandemic, a lesson that you've learned?
One lesson that I've learned from the pandemic is that we can be creative and we can give ourselves grace under whatever challenges we face, and be able to accomplish both our personal and professional goals in ways that benefits all parts of ourselves, our personal, spiritual, emotional, but also our commitment to the community and commitment to our mission. And so being able to find that pause button and being able to find that grace, I think has been something that has been opening for me and has allowed me to look at the rest of my life in a new light too.
Yeah, and it's been impacting us for a year now, and I'm pretty sure it's not over, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna learn so many more things as we continue to navigate this pandemic. But now moving
Absolutely.
on from talking about the present, I want to talk about the past a little bit about yourself. Where were you raised? And tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Yes, I was raised in Puerto Rico. My mother and father are both from Puerto Rico, and I was in Puerto Rico until I was 10. I loved living on the island. I loved the world and the simplicity of life that we had. I lived with my grandparents as well. And so living with my mamita and my abuelito was a special memory. They were kind and faith-filled and very cognizant about supporting community. And I think it's with them that I learned about paying it forward and about our obligation to each other. And it was a cherished time when I moved to New York at the age of 10 to live in the Bronx. It was a big adjustment and culture shock, and learning a new language and living in a city versus living on an island. And it was definitely a new experience for me. But I went to the public school system throughout New York City, including Lehman High School in the Bronx. And I was the first in my family to go to college. Neither my mom or my stepfather had gone to college. And so when I went to school, I attended Pace University in Pleasantville, which is the suburbs. And that again was a new shift and a new change for me. And so I've had a number of major periods in my life where I've had to learn to adapt and to a new environment, to new cultures, to new ways of being. But I think, like so many of the first-gen Latino students that I serve at LUCA, it's what makes us resilient and stronger. And so I feel that as a young child, I've always been driven and inspired by education and excited about what the world has to offer that you can access through education. And it's great to be in a role now where I can provide guidance and we can give that same opportunity to so many other first-gen Latino students.
Absolutely. And I know you just mentioned you had to learn a new language. How would you say you overcame those challenges?
Back then, so when I came here to New York, there was no ELL program. And so I remember there were two girls that spoke Spanish. One was another Puerto Rican girl, and the other one was a girl whose family was from Spain. And they became my best friends and my translators. And I do have really strong memories of sitting in a classroom and kind of being overwhelmed by not understanding, but persistence. And the school actually would, I have an older brother who came here with me, and we would go into a room with a counselor, and we would wear headphones. And I remember that's how we were learning English, through some tapes as well. Yeah. And immersion, it was sink or swim at that time. And it was challenging for us, but kids are resilient and we learned quickly. I think within the year, we were pretty good and moving forward and academically doing very well in our schools. And so, the support of having a best friend who was bilingual, and another family who was also bicultural or Latino family, it was great. And so we became inseparable at that time.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure a lot of students and a lot of immigrants who come to this country can relate to your story and not knowing the language or not knowing the culture. So that's really great advice about being persistent. But who would you say were some of your role models as you were growing up?
Goodness, growing up. um, always family, right? It always goes back to family. So I always look at, I come from a very strong family of women. My grandmother, my mother are both very strong, both very determined. And I think that they were the inspiration and the role models and the motivation, kind of like, you have no choice, you need to go and and do well. And so they did not set limits on what a woman can do. And so they were truly role models for me, working really hard for their families and working really hard for the benefit of their children.
That's beautiful. And I know you had mentioned that you kind of like growing up, you had this passion about like community and helping out others. How did you become interested in connecting Latinx youth to higher education?
I always share that my journey to what I'm doing now has been something that has evolved throughout my entire life. Everything from my early life experience, coming here to the US from Puerto Rico, not speaking English, being a first gen college grad myself. My first career path was in Hispanic marketing and advertising, and that was back in the late 80s, early 90s, in a period when there was a great deal of recognition and support and effort being given behind the Hispanic demographic and the growth of the Latinx community in the US and its purchasing power. And I loved working in that industry because it allowed me to blend everything from my personal, my bilingual, my cultural background with my academic preparation, which was a business degree in marketing that I had achieved. And so working in that industry exposed me to the community of Hispanic communities throughout the US that exist and the incredible growth and power that our community has. And then when I had children, in the early 90s, I pivoted again, and I was looking to work in a more local industry, and I began to work for a nonprofit organization that served the Latino community. And that work is really what inspired me to want to be involved in nonprofit work, because I wanted to be of service to my community. I wanted to do something that would help to continue to uplift and empower the growing Latinx community right here in where I was living. And so this began my nonprofit career, I would say in 1998 or thereabouts, and began my commitment that this is what I want to do with the next phase of my life. I pursued a master's in public administration as an adult learner when my daughter was in high school. And that MPA and the capstone research that I did on higher education and first-gen Latinx students is what led to the development of Latino U College Access. I truly believe in the incredible transformational power of education to change lives, to create greater opportunity and equity for youth, but also for our community, because we know that when you educate a child, you're impacting not just them, but their family, their siblings, their neighbors, their cousins. And that impact is an impact that is also the surest way to lift a person out of poverty and to open doors for continued economic growth and continued success in life.
Absolutely. And since we are talking about a little bit more about LUCA, you had told us why you decided to establish Latino U College Access. What about the name? How did the name come about? Was there any other choices for naming the organization?
Yes, I remember that as if it were yesterday, because when you're a founder, I was pretty much working solo or along with an intern and a wonderful graduate student who was my intern at the time. And I had my friends and peers from my marketing and advertising days, and I believe we had the list of 6 or 8 names that we were looking at. I knew that it was important to have the word college access to define what it was that we did. But we were also looking at other names. I also wanted to make sure that it was clearly identified as a Latino or Latinx focused organization, because I do believe that within our community, you provide a service, or if you welcome and invite families to a program and they recognize that this program was designed specifically for them and in their language, they're more likely to come. So I wanted the name to clearly identify that this was a program that was culturally relevant and that was bilingual and that was specifically formed to keep the needs and the needs and the life of our Latino students in mind.
Of course. And as you were building up this organization from scratch, what challenges did you face while doing so?
Starting a nonprofit, it's a combination of idealism, passion, not having worked at a nonprofit at that level of an executive director before. I pretty much had to learn everything on myself. The wonderful part was that I was serving as I had my master's in public administration. So I knew all of the textbook and sort of best practices. And I was determined to ensure that as we started LUCA, we started with a sense of doing it right. Always like, we have to do this the right way. And you start with an idea, a mission, a focus, and developing program models around college access and college success. I networked with a number of national associations whose mission is also first gen college access focused. And I began to network within local school districts, and through very small steps at a time, we began to deliver community information sessions in Spanish. I wrote 4 presentations in Spanish on pathway, applying, and paying for college. And those presentations were incredibly well attended. I must say, in the beginning, I recall someone saying to me, Latino parents, they don't go to presentations at the schools. And my response was always, they don't go because it's not in Spanish, or it's not in their language. It's not culturally relevant. If you welcome the community, they will come. And I will tell you, one of my first presentations was on paying for college. We had 100 attendees show up.
Wow.
So since then, we've delivered presentations to over 6,000 parents and students.
Wow.
It's part of the focus of providing a welcoming and culturally relevant environment, and also providing information in Spanish for the parents. Because while this is certainly the students' primary goal, parents want to feel engaged, and parents want to have access to the information, even if they don't fully understand it. And so the number of students and parents that sit at our workshops and that join us in our workshops is astounding. They come together because, as you know, the first gen students translate for parents or provide additional information. Yeah. And so they join each other at our sessions. And from there, I built an incredible board of supporters who were passionate about this mission. And we started with a small board of just 3 members and continued to grow. Everything grew exponentially year after year. We started with 2 scholars. Now we've served nearly 300 students going to and through college. We started in 1 school. Now we're in 4 schools districts that are high Hispanic school districts in Westchester County, where we're located. And this exponential growth and this thoughtful growth has really been what I feel has led to the success of LUCA, and to ensuring that we deliver programs that have really great impact.
Of course. And talking a little bit about the programs, can you share the the types of programs that you offer for scholars and for parents as well.
Of course. So our pillars are access, which is working with high school students who are in our cohort of Latino U scholars and helping them with the college application process and financial aid process, because it is a full spectrum of support that they need. It's not just the application, it's the financial aid that they need to make sure that all three forms are completed. And then there's college transition and success, ensuring that our students are not only getting accepted into universities, but also that we are preparing them to transition and to succeed as first-gen Latinx students. So we remain with them through their 4 years of college, delivering a series of workshops, delivering a series of networking events to make sure that they have the tools and the resources that they need. During the pandemic, we actually triaged into a scholar support fund where we provided our students with everything from paying for moving fees out off campus, storage fees, supermarket gift cards, if there was food insecurity in the home, equipment like laptops or Chromebooks or printers for students that suddenly had to go to virtual learning at home and didn't have the resources. One student even asked for an appropriate desk chair because he was using a folding chair. So we were able to help him with that. And so we know that success in college for first-gen students is also driven by much more than just academic success, but what are the personal and emotional supports that they need to help them through this 4 years. And the last piece of our program is career readiness and career preparation, introducing students to a network of corporate partners and a network of internships and opportunities to help them land that first job. So everything from resume writing to interview skills, recognizing that when you're first gen, you lack that social capital of a network of connections or even adult guidance on how do you start your career? How do you prepare for interviews? And so we're there to deliver that for them.
That's amazing. And all the work you and your team have done have led you to be recognized various times. Most recently, your organization has been received and recognized the Project Innovation Grant by NBC New York and Telemundo and Comcast NBC Universal Foundation. How does it make you feel that all the work you and your team do has done to change the lives of many Latino students in the area?
I'm extremely proud of our team and all of the hard work they've put into creating and delivering our programs so successfully. But I'm especially proud and inspired by the students and the families that we serve. They are the driving force for all of us at LUCA. We have an incredible number of volunteer coaches who mentor our students, who support them through the college application process. It is truly an example of a village. It takes a village. There are so many people that are involved in the support of one individual scholar. And so it fills me with great pride to know that we are surrounded by a community of such support, but especially honored to be able to help and guide the amazing students in our program to achieve their potential, because I know that they have so much to contribute to our community, to our country, to our world, and that they are brilliant, motivated young scholars. I am humbled by the recognition, but knowing that what started with just a little idea out of a challenge and concern that I recognize for our community has grown into something that so many have joined us with. And we really believe that we can double, triple the number of students that we serve over the next 3 years. And I'm really excited about the new leadership with our executive director, Jose Gutierrez, who I hope you meet and interview as well. And I'm really excited about where the new where we're going into the future and where we can continue to grow as an organization.
Yeah, of course. And exactly talking about the future, where do you see LUCA in 5 or even in 10 years?
Oh, goodness. So we see ourselves continuing to increase the capacity to serve more students. Our hope is that we can grow to and scale delivery of services to a point where we can serve close to 1,000 students a year. And that would be really exciting for us because it provides us with an opportunity to make an impact on a larger scale. I know that we are going to expand to serve all high Hispanic school districts. And by that, we mean school districts that are 50% or more Latinx, school districts that have a significant segment of low income Latinx students, because they are the students that need the greatest level of support. There, in 10 years, who knows? The sky's the limit. There's population of Latinx students continues to grow significantly throughout the country. I recognize this is a model that can be replicated in any district, school district, or in any state. We have had calls from throughout the country asking if we would go to California, to Texas, to North Carolina. And of course, we're not there. We started as a local organization, but if you want to dream big, that certainly could be a potential for us in terms of growth and scalability, because the community is there and the need is there. First gen Latinx students are the backbone of growth in higher ed, and also the backbone of growth for our incoming workforce. And so it is upon us, and it is critically important for the future of both the workforce, the future of higher ed, to prepare and educate first-gen Latinx students.
Of course. And as you said, the sky's the limit. So I really do hope that LUCA does accomplish and branches out, because there is a need for more nonprofit organizations to help out more Latinx students in order for our community to continue to enroll in college and to continue to do what they have been doing, contribute to the world, contribute to the economy. So we thank you for that, first generation students. We do. But as a wrap up, I want to end with 10 random questions to kind of finalize this interview series. Are you ready?
Okay, great.
All right. So let's do this. Number 1, what is your favorite food?
Arroz con gandules.
Yum. What is currently your favorite movie or TV show?
Okay, favorite movie. I just saw Respect. Awesome. With Aretha Franklin. Great movie.
Amazing. What country would you like to visit someday?
Spain, of course. Repeat.
What is your favorite genre of music?
R&B.
What is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Meditate.
If you could choose another career, what would it be?
Oh, I wouldn't. This is my life's vocation and purpose.
Would you rather be able to control time or be able to know what other people are thinking?
Control time.
What is your worst habit?
I was a workaholic. I'm a recovering workaholic.
What talent would you want to possess if you could?
Oh, I'd love to be able to play a musical instrument, the piano.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Beautiful. And last question, what do you still have yet to accomplish?
Oh, there's so much. We're constantly learning and growing. And I myself, even though, I've had a lengthy career behind me and have been blessed, I had a wonderful life. I do feel that there's much more to do. And so to accomplish, I guess continue to serve our community and continue to inspire others to pick up this baton and to move forward. And so I want to be an advocate. I want to serve more as an advocate for educational equity and representing the Latinx community. and all that it presents to us and to our future. So becoming an advocate and really serving a greater role in advocacy.
Amazing. And I'm sure you will reach out to more students. And thank you so much for playing that fun little game with me.
Oh my God, that was great. That was great. Nerve-wracking, but good. I haven't done that.
we could have gone on forever to learn even more about you and the wonderful things you do. But
thank you, Denise.
Of course, before we wrap up the interview, I want to ask if you could share where students can go if they want to find out more about Latino U College Access.
Absolutely. So our website is www.latinou.org, or they can email us at info@latinou.org. And Denise, thank you. I'm just so impressed by your work and inspired by you as a first-gen Latinx professional and college student. So thank you.
No, thank you so much for your time and for sharing a little bit more about what you do and for creating this organization, which is very much needed. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It was so much fun.
I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.